Your brain is washing itself right now, but only if you give it what it needs to do the job. And here's the thing most people over 60 have never been told. There is a specific window every single night when your brain goes into a kind of deep cleaning mode. It flushes out toxic waste, repairs damaged cells, and locks in your memories from the day. But if you go to bed without this one simple drink, that process gets cut short. And over months and years, that shortcut adds up to something serious. We're talking about brain fog. We're talking about forgetting names, losing words mid-sentence, walking into a room and having absolutely no idea why you're there. These aren't just getting old things. These are signs your brain isn't getting the nightly cleanup it desperately needs.
Today I'm going to walk you through exactly what that drink is, why it works so powerfully for people in their 50s, 60s, 70s, and beyond, what the science actually says, and how you can start tonight. I'll also cover a few mistakes that a lot of people make, things they think are helping their brain but are actually making things worse. So stay with me because by the end of this, you're going to have a really clear, simple plan you can put into action immediately. Let's start with something that might surprise you. Your brain makes up only about 2% of your body weight, but it burns through roughly 20% of your body's total energy every single day. It is the most metabolically active organ you have. And because it works so hard, it produces a lot of waste, a lot of toxic byproducts that build up throughout the day. Things like amyloid proteins, which are strongly linked to Alzheimer's disease. Things like tau tangles, metabolic debris, cellular garbage. Now, your body has a whole system for dealing with waste. Your liver filters your blood, your kidneys clean your urine. But your brain has its own separate cleaning system. It's called the glymphatic system. And researchers only discovered it fairly recently, around 2013, which is wild when you think about it. For most of medical history, we had no idea this system even existed. Here's how it works. During sleep, specifically during deep sleep, your brain cells actually shrink slightly. And when they shrink, the channels between them widen. Cerebrospinal fluid then rushes through those channels like a powerful current, sweeping out all the accumulated waste and toxic proteins that built up during the day. It's genuinely one of the most fascinating things happening in your body, and it happens completely automatically, but only when you're in deep, quality sleep. The problem is that as we age, the glymphatic system becomes less efficient. Deep sleep decreases, inflammation in the brain increases, circulation slows, and the result is that toxic waste starts to accumulate faster than it can be cleared. Many researchers now believe this is one of the key drivers behind cognitive decline and memory loss in older adults. But here's where the drink comes in. Certain compounds, and I'll get very specific in a moment, have been shown in clinical research to directly support the glymphatic system. They reduce neuroinflammation, meaning they calm down the chronic, low-level inflammation that gums up the brain's plumbing. They support deeper, more restorative sleep. They improve blood flow to the brain. And they provide antioxidant protection to brain cells that would otherwise get damaged by oxidative stress overnight. The drink I'm talking about is a warm golden milk, but not just any golden milk. This is a specific combination of ingredients, each one chosen because of what it does for brain health, and the ratio matters. A lot of people make a version of this and miss out on the most important components. So let me walk you through each ingredient and tell you exactly why it's in there. The foundation is warm milk, and this is important. Warm dairy milk, or if you prefer, warm oat milk, works beautifully. Dairy milk contains tryptophan, which is the precursor to serotonin, which then converts to melatonin. Melatonin is your body's main sleep hormone. Drinking warm milk before bed actually does help you sleep. It's not just an old wives' tale. There's solid science behind it. Tryptophan crosses the blood-brain barrier, gets converted, and helps signal to your brain that it's time to shift into deep sleep mode. And remember, deep sleep is when the glymphatic system does its best work. Now, into that warm milk, you're going to add turmeric, a full teaspoon of high-quality turmeric powder. And I want to spend real time on this ingredient because it is remarkable.
The active compound in turmeric is called curcumin, and curcumin has been studied more than almost any other natural compound for its effects on the brain. Here's what the research shows. Curcumin is one of the most potent natural anti-inflammatories ever identified, and brain inflammation, what scientists call neuroinflammation, is now understood to be at the center of virtually every major neurodegenerative disease. Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, dementia, all of them involve chronic neuroinflammation. A landmark study published in the American Journal of Geriatric Psychiatry followed adults over 50 who took curcumin daily for 18 months. The results were striking. Those taking curcumin showed significantly better memory and attention compared to the placebo group. And when researchers scanned their brains, they found measurably less amyloid plaque and tau tangle accumulation. Those are the two hallmarks of Alzheimer's disease: less plaque, less tangles, in 18 months. And here's something even more interesting about curcumin. It appears to actually stimulate the production of BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor. Think of BDNF as fertilizer for your brain. It promotes the growth of new neurons, strengthens existing neural connections, and protects against neuronal death. As we age, BDNF levels naturally decline, and that decline is closely linked to memory loss and cognitive decline. Curcumin helps push those levels back up. But there's a catch with curcumin that most people don't know about. On its own, curcumin has very poor bioavailability, meaning your body doesn't absorb it well. It gets metabolized too quickly before it can reach the brain. This is where the next ingredient becomes critical: black pepper. Just a small pinch, about a quarter teaspoon. Black pepper contains a compound called piperine, and piperine has been shown to increase the bioavailability of curcumin by up to 2,000%. That is not a typo, 2,000%. Adding a tiny bit of black pepper to your turmeric drink transforms it from a mildly helpful beverage into something genuinely powerful. Without the black pepper, you're honestly leaving most of the benefit on the table. Next, a teaspoon of raw honey. Not regular processed honey, raw, unfiltered honey. Raw honey contains a remarkable range of antioxidants, including flavonoids and phenolic acids. There's also emerging research specifically on raw honey's effects on the brain. Studies showing it can reduce oxidative stress in brain tissue, support neuronal survival, and even show some protective effects against neurodegeneration. There's a polyphenol in raw honey called pinosembrin that has shown neuroprotective properties in animal studies. It's early research, but the direction is encouraging, and the antioxidant protection is very real and very well established. Beyond the brain benefits, raw honey also helps the drink taste genuinely good, which matters because if something tastes unpleasant, you won't stick with it. Consistency is everything with this kind of habit. Then you add half a teaspoon of cinnamon, Ceylon cinnamon specifically, not the cassia variety. Ceylon cinnamon has been shown in multiple studies to help regulate blood sugar levels, and this connection to the brain is enormous. Here's why. The brain runs almost entirely on glucose, blood sugar. When blood sugar is unstable, spiking and crashing through the night, the brain is getting inconsistent, poor quality fuel. This is one of the big reasons people wake up foggy and unrefreshed even after a full night's sleep. Stable blood sugar means stable brain fuel. And stable brain fuel means better, deeper sleep, which again feeds back into that glymphatic cleanup process. There's also direct research showing that cinnamon extracts can inhibit the formation of tau proteins in the brain. Tau tangles are one of the structural hallmarks of Alzheimer's. The same compounds in cinnamon that help regulate blood sugar may also be protecting your brain architecture. The last ingredient is one that many people haven't heard of, but it might be the most exciting one on this list: ashwagandha. Half a teaspoon of ashwagandha powder stirred right in. Ashwagandha is an adaptogenic herb, meaning it helps your body and your nervous system adapt to stress. But its effects on the brain go far beyond just reducing stress. Ashwagandha contains compounds called withanolides, which have been studied intensively for neuroprotective effects. A double-blind, placebo-controlled trial, the gold standard of research, found that adults who took ashwagandha for 8 weeks showed significant improvements in memory, executive function, attention, and processing speed compared to a control group. The improvements were not subtle. They were clinically meaningful. Beyond that, ashwagandha has been shown to reduce cortisol levels, and this matters enormously for brain health. Cortisol is your primary stress hormone. Chronically elevated cortisol is one of the most damaging things for the brain. It literally shrinks the hippocampus, the part of the brain most critical for forming new memories. Ashwagandha helps bring cortisol down, which protects that vital memory center. And it helps you shift into the parasympathetic state, the rest and repair mode that allows deep sleep to happen naturally. And the night timing is key. Ashwagandha's cortisol-lowering effects are strongest when taken in the evening.
Your cortisol naturally needs to drop as you approach bedtime for your body to release melatonin and move into sleep. Ashwagandha accelerates that drop. It's like telling your nervous system, the day is over, it's safe to rest now. So here's the full recipe in simple terms. Heat up 1 cup of milk, dairy or oat milk, both work well. Add 1 teaspoon of turmeric. Add a 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper. Do not skip this. Add 1/2 teaspoon of Ceylon cinnamon. Add 1/2 teaspoon of ashwagandha powder. Stir everything together well, let it heat gently for about 2 minutes so the compounds blend, then take it off the heat and stir in 1 teaspoon of raw honey. You add the honey after heating because high heat can degrade some of its beneficial compounds. Drink it warm, about 45 minutes to an hour before you go to sleep. That's it. 1 cup, 5 ingredients, about 3 minutes to prepare. And if you drink it consistently, every night for 30 days, most people report noticeable changes in how they sleep, how clear their thinking feels in the morning, and how their memory is performing throughout the day. Now let me talk about the timing piece more specifically, because this is something people get wrong. A lot of people hear night drink, and they drink it immediately before getting into bed. That's actually not ideal. You want to give the tryptophan, the ashwagandha, and the other active compounds about 45 minutes to an hour to start working before you're actually lying down trying to sleep. If you drink it right at bedtime, you'll still get some benefit, but you won't get the full effect. Think of it as preparing your brain for sleep, not as a sleep-inducing potion you take at the last second. Equally important is consistency. None of these ingredients are like sleeping pills that knock you out on night 1. They work cumulatively. The curcumin reducing neuroinflammation, the ashwagandha regulating cortisol. These are processes that build over days and weeks. Most people notice a meaningful improvement in sleep quality within about 1 to 2 weeks of consistent nightly use. The memory and cognitive benefits tend to become really noticeable at around the 4 to 6 week mark. So give it a real chance. 30 days is a reasonable baseline to judge by. And one more practical tip on the recipe. If the flavor of ashwagandha is too earthy for your taste, start with a 1/4 teaspoon and work up. Ashwagandha has a distinctive, slightly bitter flavor that not everyone loves immediately. But most people find they get used to it and actually start to enjoy it. The brain seems to learn to associate the flavor with the relaxation that follows. Now I want to address some of the most common mistakes I see people making around brain health and sleep, because some of these are things that well-meaning, health-conscious people do thinking they're helping, and they're not. The first big one is drinking herbal tea or chamomile at night and thinking that's the same thing. Chamomile tea is lovely. It has mild calming effects through a compound called apigenin, but it does not meaningfully reduce neuroinflammation. It does not boost BDNF. It does not regulate cortisol through withanolides. It does not contain tryptophan in clinically meaningful amounts. It is not in the same category as what we've been discussing. Chamomile before bed is a nice habit, but if you're dealing with memory concerns or cognitive decline, you need the full combination of compounds we've covered. One mild calming herb is not going to move the needle on glymphatic function. The second mistake, and this one is really important, is having a glass of wine before bed to help you sleep. This is one of the most widespread and damaging myths in sleep science. Yes, alcohol helps you fall asleep faster, but what it does to your sleep architecture is devastating. Alcohol suppresses REM sleep. It fragments the second half of the night, causing you to wake up multiple times without fully remembering it. And critically, it significantly reduces deep sleep, which, as we've established, is the specific sleep stage when the glymphatic system cleans your brain. A nightcap is, from a brain health perspective, the opposite of what you want. People who drink nightly before bed and then wonder why they're having memory issues, this connection is very real and very well documented in the research. The third mistake is taking high-dose melatonin supplements thinking it will make everything better. Melatonin is not a sedative, it's a signal. It tells your body it's dark, it's night, it's time to prepare for sleep. But flooding your body with 5 milligrams or 10 milligrams of melatonin every night does not mean better, deeper sleep. It can actually downregulate your body's own melatonin production over time, making your natural sleep drive weaker. If you feel you need melatonin occasionally, keep the dose very low. 0.5 milligrams is actually more physiologically appropriate than the massive doses on most store shelves. And supporting your body's natural tryptophan to melatonin pathway through warm milk and the timing of the drink we've discussed is a far more sustainable strategy. Let's also talk for a moment about what else supports the brain during that nighttime window, because the drink is powerful, but it works best when it's part of a broader set of habits. One of the most important is keeping your bedroom genuinely dark and genuinely cool. Your brain temperature actually needs to drop slightly to initiate deep sleep. A room that's too warm prevents this. Most sleep researchers recommend a bedroom temperature between 65 and 68 degrees Fahrenheit, or 18 to 20 degrees Celsius. Small change, surprisingly big impact on sleep depth. Light exposure matters enormously too. Blue light from phones, tablets, and televisions suppresses melatonin production, and it does this for up to 2 hours after exposure. So if you're drinking your brain-boosting drink at 9 p.m. and then scrolling on your phone until 11 p.m., you're working against yourself. The drink can help counteract some of that suppression through the tryptophan pathway, but nothing cancels out direct blue light exposure to your eyes. Dim the lights, put the phone down, and let the drink do its job. And think about what you're eating in the evening. High sugar meals or heavy processed food in the 3 hours before bed drive blood sugar instability overnight, which, as we discussed, disrupts brain fuel and sleep architecture. The cinnamon in the drink helps with this, but choosing to have a lighter, lower sugar dinner when possible amplifies the effect significantly. The combination of all of these things, the drink, the sleep environment, the light management, the evening eating habits, creates a compounding effect on brain health. Each piece reinforces the others. The drink helps you sleep deeper. Deeper sleep lets the glymphatic system clean more thoroughly. A cleaner brain means less inflammation. Less inflammation means better blood flow. Better blood flow means sharper thinking, clearer memory, more energy, and a more resilient brain going forward. This is not about stopping aging. Nobody stops aging. But there is a profound difference between aging with a clean, well-nourished, well-rested brain and aging without those things. The research is increasingly clear that cognitive decline is not simply inevitable. It is influenced powerfully by the habits we build and maintain. And a warm drink before bed, something that takes 3 minutes to make and costs almost nothing, is about as accessible an entry point into brain protective habits as you're ever going to find. People in their 70s and 80s who maintain sharp memory, who read, engage, remember, and stay present, they are often people who have, whether consciously or not, been doing things to support their brain health for decades. We now have the science to understand exactly what those things are. And one of the simplest ones is giving your brain the raw materials it needs to clean itself while you sleep. Before you go make your first batch tonight, I do want to say this sincerely. Everything I've shared here is rooted in real, published research.
but it's intended to be educational, not medical advice.
If you have existing health conditions, particularly if you're managing blood pressure, blood sugar, liver conditions, or if you're on any medications, please talk to your doctor before making changes to your nightly routine. Turmeric and ashwagandha do interact with certain medications, and your doctor or pharmacist will know your specific situation in a way no video can. This drink is wonderful for most healthy adults, but your health history matters, and getting a professional's input is always the smart move. If you found this genuinely helpful, and I really hope you did, I'd love for you to give this video a like. It takes 2 seconds, and it genuinely helps this information reach other people who need it. Subscribe if you haven't already, because we cover this kind of practical, science-backed health information regularly, and I'd hate for you to miss what's coming next. And drop a comment below telling me if you've ever tried golden milk before, or if you're going to start tonight. I read every comment, and I'd love to hear how it goes for you. Next time, we're going deep into the 5 foods that have been shown in research to literally rebuild the hippocampus, the brain's memory center, even in adults over 65. Some of them you probably already have in your kitchen, and a couple of them might genuinely surprise you. You don't want to miss that one.